You're listening to the Holistic Spaces podcast brought to you by Mindful Design Feng Shui School, episode 361, A Flower Ally for Every Zodiac Animal with Katie Hess of Lotus Way. Welcome to episode 361 of the Holistic Spaces podcast, where we hope to inspire, educate, and empower you to create your own holistic spaces that nurture and resonate with you. Laura Morris and Angie Cho are the founders of the Mindful Design Feng Shui School and authors of Mindful Living, a guide to the everyday magic of Feng Shui. We teach Feng Shui online at mindfuldesignschool.com. Sign up for our mailing list for special free content, workshops, and events available only for our newsletter subscribers. You can join our mailing list by visiting mindfuldesignschool.com/join. So before we get started, Laura, can you say a few words about the New Year's Reset program and the Feng Shui Basics course that's happening right
Yes.
now?
Yes. So the Feng Shui Basics course is free. It is going on now. It will be open until January 31st. There are 5 modules. It comes to our newsletter subscribers. So if you would like to get access to this course, please join our mailing list. And that is in the show notes, the link to that. Also, what is happening in the live portion will be happening for the new year, the Lunar New Year, is the 2026 Year of the Fire Horse workshop. So this is our energy reset package that we do every single year for the past, I want to say 7 years, been doing it forever, it feels like. And we have a special discount for our podcast listeners for 50% off. And the code is POD50. And this workshop, you will get a whole bunch of stuff immediately to help you reset the energy in your home. Plus, you will get your invitation and your access to the live online portion that will be happening where we are going to celebrate together, go over all of the animals, et cetera, et cetera. And yes, it will be recorded.
Thank you, Laura.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
So we are also doing our annual podcast with Katie Hess of Lotus Way. Hi, Katie.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, well, let me tell the listeners, if they don't already know who you are, a little bit about you. So, Katie Hess is a friend of ours, and she's the founder of Lotus Way. And Lotus Way creates flower alchemy. They create flower elixirs and so many beautiful products with the magic of flowers, with the healing power of flowers. And all of the things that Lotus Way and Katie creates is with the intention to awaken our true potential. So, flower remedies are one of the most sustainable forms of natural medicine, and they can benefit you with things like clarity, focus, and sleep. But there's also long term benefits and lots of personal growth that can happen when you work with the magic of flowers. And Katie and Lotus Way have gathered many. How many flower elixirs do you have now? Over 300? Is that right?
Yep, over 300.
Over 300 and is now used by people in more than 50 countries. So we're really utterly delighted to have Katie back again. So I was just trying to look up how many years we've been doing this.
Is it 4th? I think it feels like the 4th, or maybe it's longer. But
I was gonna say like 7 years. I
yeah,
feel like we talked about this last time and it was like
yeah,
so
I think we
long,
did.
like 6 years.
I know the
You-
three of us are so busy that we don't even, it's like we forget to look at how many
But
years
here's the
until we're
thing,
here.
it only feels like a few years, even if it is
Exactly.
longer. It
So
always
fresh.
feels so fresh. It feels like we're doing it
Exactly.
for the first time every time.
Mhm.
That is true, actually. Anyways, it's really wonderful to do this, and it's becoming more and more fun. And even this year, Katie texted me a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, "Okay, when are we doing the next podcast?" She's all ready to go. Especially because Katie's a snake, and I think just coming out of the end of the snake year is probably there's a lot of movement for Katie, and we'll talk about that more. So yeah, we do this every year. We do lots of Lunar New Year podcasts and posts and content, but one of our favorite ones is to do this podcast with Katie where we go through each zodiac animal. We say a little bit about each animal, and we also talk about the energy of the year. So we're saying goodbye to the year of the snake and welcoming in the year of the horse. And even though it's a couple months away, the energy is already shifting. And so we're going to talk about the kind of elemental qualities and the chi, the energy that's shifting. And then we go through every zodiac animal and we kind of give like top line notes from the Feng Shui perspective. And then Katie offers a flower ally for every animal. And it's so fun. And we go through every animal. And then you can also check out Katie's website. You can go to lotusway.com, and they always create these beautiful graphics. We always have a lot of fun things to collaborate. And last year, the last 2 years, you created a planner also. Are you going to do that this year?
This year, no.
No. Okay. Well, maybe. So anyways, let's get into it. So I thought we could chat first about how everyone felt like the snake year was, like the three of us. So what, Katie, you start.
Oh man. The snake year, I mean, in some ways it was so beautiful and so precious, and so many things happened. Like radical transformation, spiritual transformation, a lot of saying goodbye to people. Like there are people who've left, and people will continue to leave throughout all the way to the next year. I mean, I guess that's it in a nutshell. It's like very deep personal work. I lost my dog, so my best friend dog of 17 years. But it was the most beautiful experience, and I spent the last month with her, and she had the most peaceful death I have ever seen. It was a peaceful, natural death. So yeah, for me, it's been so much deep transformation and spiritual awakening. I just got back from 6 weeks in the Himalayas, life-changing trip. A lot of life changes, and definitely not always easy. A lot of challenge too.
Yeah. What about you, Laura?
It was good for me. Yeah. It was actually pretty low key. I feel like the year before was crazy, the dragon year for Angie and I. I mean, like it was just too much.
We
So
had
it made
just written a book, and
yeah, but it just
yeah.
and yeah, it was so much stuff going on, and like the book, there was just a lot, and it makes sense too because I was a rat in the dragon year, and it's a lot of like a lot of stuff happening. But snake is a little more low key from like the rat. It's not as much of a thing, so it was pretty quiet. I felt like it was a time for me to focus on myself more physically, like my health, taking time for myself, and that's really paid off. So I feel like over the last 6 to 8 months, I've really started to it's taken me 3 years to get here, but I feel much better. So
You look
it's
amazing,
good.
by the way.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a journey.
Laura's a rat, and so she's moving into a more challenging energy with the horse. So we'll talk about that. And
What about you, Angie?
don't worry, I'm
Oh,
not going to
okay.
skip me, but I wanted to talk about like the themes we spoke about last year. Do connect with what both of you have shared: transformation, healing, and strength and protection. So I think for me, there was a lot of re-examining things, and definitely that feeling of shedding away what no longer fits anymore. So I worked with a coach that I really like, that I'm going to continue to work with next year. And I actually shed away some of my design work, and I changed my branding, even because a long time I still had design on there, and I want to really do less of that work and only have a very few cherry picked clients for design. But changing my branding and having it more focused on teaching. So, and I started teaching flower arranging quite a lot the whole year. I've been teaching Gabbana and at many meditation centers and teaching retreats. So it's been a lot of change and letting go of what doesn't fit me anymore. And it'll be interesting to see how things go next year. For me, I think next year will be a lot about focusing on home and focusing on health and listening to the body more, because I'll be 50 next year. And so I think there's a lot I know
Kidding.
there's a lot to kind of revisit, and I think home and body are things that are easy to ignore, and it's time to pay attention to this. So it might not be a very fast year for me, but being a dragon, it's a neutral year. And Lauren, Katie, do you have any themes that you think are coming up for you for the year of the horse?
For me personally, or
Mhm.
for
For you
well,
personally?
I mean, I'm a rat, so I just gotta lay low, man. I just got to keep my head
You're going to
down.
be in the bomb shelter.
I just got to keep my head down. Just stay locked in on whatever I was doing before. Yeah, that's my plan. No more than
Yeah,
that.
I mean, I'm super excited to have this conversation because I didn't read any of your notes beforehand, and I don't know what you're gonna say, but just looking at what flowers were coming up, because I just kind of do it all blind by intuition. It was giving me a really good sense of what this next year is gonna feel like, and now I kind of understand. When I got back from Nepal, I was like, why do I have this feeling like there are going to be these huge changes coming next year and I don't know what's coming, and I'm getting this kind of uneasy feeling, and things are leaving but there's nothing taking their place, and I feel like I'm just like running off the cliff and jumping. And then the more I started to talk about it, the more other people were like, yeah, me too, me too, me too, and everyone's having this kind of sensation. And after looking at the flowers, I kind of get the sense, you guys will correct me if I'm wrong, that this next year is going to be more about, I don't know, external is the right word, but like taking risks and being seen on a different level, whether that's like for some people it's vulnerability and authenticity, or for other people it's like being in the public limelight, but just like being seen more. I feel like snake is so, especially now we're in winter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the snake's going into hibernation
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's kind of moving slow. And then it just feels like the horse is like ready to just like jump right out of the gates and get on the racetrack.
Well, that's what I've noticed. A lot of people, and Lunar New Year is on the late side in February and mid-February next year. But already a month ago, over a month ago, I've seen people, so many posts on social media about this transition. People can't wait to gallop into the new year. And what's also really interesting is that Laura loves horses. So Laura has a lot of insider information on horses, but it's interesting that even just tuning into those archetypes of the snake and the horse can tell us a lot. And I think people are really excited about the energy that is coming in, and so they're raring to go. But we wanted to also talk about like the elemental qualities. So 2026 will be the year of the fire horse. And we're going to go over some top line things this year. And then we have future podcasts that are going to go more in detail. And then we have our Feng Shui reset, Lunar New Year's reset online program and gathering that will go into further detail. So this is our first official episode about Lunar New Year with Katie, and or in general. And it's of course with Katie. So we could talk about it for months and months. So the element associated with 2026, the horse year, is yang fire, which is Bing. And yang, so the Chinese word is Bing. And yang fire is like the height of summer. It's like high noon. You can imagine full flames, the hottest sun, all consuming. And the energy of yang fire also clings. It needs something to consume. And last year was yin wood, right? So that's like a small tendril, or like a tree, a small tree. Whereas yang fire is just consuming. It's huge. It's not a candle. It's very big. So it's all about big transformation, all consuming. It's very reactive. It can reveal a lot. It will burn away. Like we can imagine burning away that skin that we shed that no longer suits us anymore from the snake year, like burning that up. But there's also brightening and lots of clarity that can come in a yang fire year.
Yeah. And the animal horse, it's always nice to think about the actual animal. And horses are very interesting. They are beautiful. They are spontaneous, and not always in a good way, as I can speak from experience. They are reactive, 100% reactive. But what's interesting with horses is there are different kinds of horses. Obviously there's different breeds, there's different temperaments. But this horse is a fire horse. So it's like if it were an earth horse, you'd be like, okay, picture a Clydesdale, right? But we're talking thoroughbred here. That's like, he looks at a plastic bag going by and he freaks out and he runs the other way. So it's going to be, a little bit intense, but overall horses are cheery. They're popular. They're they have a quick mind. They're, changeable, capricious, and all these things are the energy of the year as well. There's a lot of active energy, physical, moving, external. I like that was interesting. You said that, Katie, very much about being out, being seen. And there's a lot of energy and it's energetic and it's fun. And there's whimsy in it, but it's also, I think there's definitely some volatility, right? Fire, and because a horse has a lot of fire in it. That is one of the elements that it has, its hidden stems and its hidden elements. And so it is it is a very changeable nature, I think, is what it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And as a rat, also a one water rat, I got a lot of water. It's a lot for me. So just as a side note. And then overarching themes, I just was thinking more. I like to think about the symbolism of a horse when you think of in like culture and history and art and all these things. And the overarching symbols that like the kind of themes that came out were magnetism and power. So horses are when you're driving by, I don't care if you've seen a horse every day of your life. If you watch, oh, look, a horse. Every time you drive down and you see a horse, like a horse. Like there's just something about horses that it's like we don't, like, how do they even exist? They're so beautiful. They're so amazing. They carry us around. They make us feel like, they do so much for us. They're just amazing creatures. So magnetism and power, because it obviously, historically, if you had a horse, you were powerful, you had more standing and status. Freedom and mobility, you also had the freedom to be able to move. You had the ability to go places, right? Because horses are very fast, very strong, and they can take you places. And then finally is success and prosperity. And there is this, the horses are associated with success, just running toward things, just moving forward. And also the connotation that if you had lots of horses and if you had horses, you were doing really, really well. You were incredibly prosperous. So they've always been symbols of prosperity, freedom, power, strength, nobility, all these things. So it's it's a pretty cool symbolism and a very strong symbolism.
I think horse is very like obvious. It's straightforward, not like the snake, which is very subtle, down low to the ground. You could miss seeing a snake, right? But you would never miss seeing a horse. And like the horse adds stature, but also they're really straightforward. Like horses don't play mind games with you, right?
No, and it's interesting. We also say horses are mirrors. So if you have a horse or you've been around a horse is incredibly emotionally intelligent. Like if you walk in up to your horse or a horse and you are whatever is going on with you, you will see it in the horse. That horse will shine back what you've given, what you're bringing, because they're very much like, if you show up really upset, guess what? Your horse is going to be pretty upset. So they're really amazing creatures. They are.
Yeah. Katie, do you have any insight on horses and snakes from your own life that you want to share?
I'm just kind of wondering what, like, as we're wrapping up the snake year, if there's anything else that we should be like anchoring in as like the last little bits of snake before we go into horse. I was just really curious about asking you guys, in terms of like long-term stuff and wealth stuff and the wood element, like what are those last little things we should be paying attention to before we're like full off into a whole other universe here? Because horse sounds like a completely different world, the fire horse.
Yeah, well, we actually just recorded our podcast for the next episode, which is the Chi forecast for January. And and so it'll be the next episode for the podcast listeners. But something to consider as we're in this transition time between the end of December to Lunar New Year, there's really this emphasis on noticing what's around us. So it's a cold time, it's water element, it's dark. And we did an I Ching reading, and just a little sneak peek to the next episode, there's a sense of gentle taking the next few months, because it's going to ramp up, I think, with a lot of quick movement in 2026, to take this time and align with the water energy and be really gentle and slow. And there, we also, the hexagram we pulled was wind over wind. So this idea of like having these slow winds start to shape and cultivate and kind of pick up what's needed for that fire to begin starting, and to approach that with gentleness. And that's going to give insight on how to really tap into this, your source energy at this moment. But if we even think about the yin wood, like collecting what's important now for the wood to feed the fire of next year, and to, and if you give the fire something robust and strong to feed it, then you can control it, right? And Laura, what do you think? Like with the wind, like what we had with our chi forecast?
Yeah, I always think of when you think about the Bagua too, the wind, because it's the shun, which is the wind as well from the trigram. It blows toward, let's say, the li, which is the fire. So it does it, and it is a way. So in a way, wood, that sort of yin wood is helping to push the fire, because one thing that makes fires spread is wind, right? It blows it and then it sparks go here and there. So these cycles are there for a reason, but of course there's like the earth between each of them. We have a little bit of earth to boundary because we don't go like chick, chick. So I think Angie's point is good. It's a time to settle these last few months. It is colder, just there's the water, but then there's also a bit of an earth buffer before we move in, and then we transition into that new year, which would be February the 3rd officially, when you kind of flip over into spring and that new year. And so you do have this buffer, this earth transition point, which is a time to really settle and to just to not have to try to figure everything out. Because honestly, I feel January for some people put a lot of stress on themselves to start to change, to do all these things, to be a better person, whatever it is. And I think it's a time to just sit, ground yourself, because the fire horse is coming, and you
Yeah.
better get ready. You better have your tack ready and your bridle ready. Get it all ready, get on your, and because it's coming. And it's
Well,
it,
well,
it's
also collect like the wood, like imagine like collecting the firewood from the snake year, like collecting what is useful to then burn away to give it fuel, but also to help control that fire for next year.
Yes. I'm just really gonna keep my head down. That's all I gotta say.
Just yeah.
It's so much fire, and it's like already it's stressing me out.
Yeah. All right. Well, so let's just hop into the each animal, and then we'll learn more as we go through.
Sure will.
So we always let people know when we go through each animal, we'll share the years that they are associated with. We'll just quickly like spin through it because a lot of people don't know what animal they are. But there is a caveat. So if your birthday, so we'll say like rat is born 2020, 2008, etc. But if your birthday is between January 1st and February 3rd, then you will be the zodiac animal of the preceding year, because the transition is February 4th. So generally, if you're born February 3rd or before, you're the year before. Okay. So we'll start with rat. So rats is 1948, 1960, 1972, 1984, 1996, 2008, and 2020. And rats embody yang water. So that's like the energy of a fast moving river. And so for the fire horse year, elementally, that's going to be challenging because the fire will definitely transform and transmute the water because it's yang fire. Sometimes the water can put out the fire, but also when it puts out the fire, it still transmutes the water. But this is big fire, so it probably won't go out. Instead, it'll transmute and transform the water, giving you a chance for a big transformation. And then in addition, it's a challenging year for the rat because they're in clash with the horse. So, Katie, what do you think for the flower ally for the rats?
Yeah. So for the rat in 2026, I was thinking the saguaro flower. And the saguaro flower has a lot to do with self sufficiency, like fearless independence. Maybe this is a time to dissolve any sort of codependency and amplify problem solving. Like, what kind of problems can you solve for yourself? Cutting through distraction. The times that we're feeling a little lost or we're wanting a little comfort or being taken advantage of. I feel like this year whatever happens, it will boost the determination for rats. And this particular saguaro flower can help sort of activate your gentle warrior spirit. Like Laura's already saying, oh my God, I'm a rat. I'm stressed about this year. So it's like, how do we approach it as like a warrior and have a pure heart about it and just be fearless and use our heart of truth to align us to whatever happens this year? And that one, that particular flower is found in a remedy called awakened expression.
And that's the cactus, right?
The huge cactus,
The
yeah.
huge cactus, it does this
Like the
like
cartoon
form.
cactus, like the
Yeah, it's a
one, yeah.
cartoon, the Roadrunner
Yeah.
Yeah.
cactus. Yeah, and I love that because my teacher, Catherine Metz, just reminded me that most people think, oh, in feng shui, a cactus is bad. But she reminded us that our root teacher, Professor Linyon, said that a cactus could be really helpful for a relationship because even though the outside is prickly, the inside is very soft and moist and hydrated. And also there's these beautiful they flower as well. So even though Laura's gonna be in the bomb shelter, there's still like this softness that will be happening inside.
That's so interesting because those cactuses will hold like a ton, like thousands of pounds of water. And that's like a rat, right? You're going into the
Mhm.
desert, it's
Yeah,
hot and prickly, but you're just going to like hold on to that water
exactly.
inside.
I
Well,
need
yeah,
that.
because rat
Yeah.
is connected to water, so your
Mhm.
water is gonna be protected, and then also, cactus or desert plants they know how to use water,
Mhm.
the little water that they receive. Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you feel about that rat?
I like cacti. I like those ones too. They're beautiful. I've never seen one. No, that's true. Maybe I've seen one at one point when I went to Arizona or when I went to, but I mean, obviously in Canada we don't get them, but I do really, really love them. I think they're really striking. So I like that. I'm on board. Okay, ox. Ox's years are 1949, 1961, 1973, 1985, 1997, 2009, and 2021. Oxen embody yin, earth, like a soft sand on a beach. The elemental interaction for that is fire creates, feeds, and supports the earth. So, though it's going to be a challenging year, there's room for nourishment. Oxen are not a direct clash, but they're buds with the rat. They're best buds with the rat. So it's not going to be super easy for the ox, but that fire will feed their earth.
Then flower-wise, we've got fireweed. Fireweed is the flower that pops up after any sort of like natural disaster or fire. Like it actually, the forest requires that kind of heat to pop the seeds. And if you look at, what's the benefit of fireweed, it's healing the heart, forgiving yourself, forgiving others, dissolving old bad memories or patterns that hold you back, and really looking at liberating the heart. So I would encourage all the ox out there in this next year to experience more freedom by releasing as many sort of like old suffering patterns as possible and liberating more love and just in general learning how to love more and love wilder.
Mm. I remember hearing about this flower. You guys shared it during the LA fires.
Yeah.
Yeah, on your
And
social media.
this one's found in infinite love.
Oh, also one of my favorites. Okay, next up we have the tiger. The tiger is 1950, 1962, 1974, 1986, 1998, 2010, and 2022. Tigers embody yang wood. So that energy is like the dynamic energy of spring. It's very strong and it's about growth and movement and action. So the elemental interaction with the yang fire this year is that there is a good relationship. The strong wood of the tiger can keep that fire going all year and keep it under control because it has something to kind of hold it and feed it. Tiger also has an auspicious connection and relationship with the horse. And it's going to be a great relief because Tiger had a pretty challenging snake year. So the relationship between Tiger and snake is not good. So this is going to not only be a auspicious year because you have a good relationship with the horse, it's going to be a great relief from the snake year.
Flower wise, I have the Venus flytrap, which is all about timing. It's like knowing when to pounce as a tiger and when to just watch and wait, how to develop that divine timing. Like Laura was saying earlier, the horse is like, just wanting to like bolt out. And this is helpful for helping tigers learn how to have electric action when it's necessary, but also resting and building the energy stores when you're not going for it. So knowing when to rest and when to pounce and not getting stuck in either extreme of being too busy or hesitating. The Venus flytrap is in sacred awareness.
Oh, that makes sense, I think, also because tigers do watch and they wait, but the energy of the horse, like a lot of times, like they'll say that the horse just keeps running. Like the horse will just keep running even if there isn't a reason to run. And Laura can probably attest to that.
100%.
Yeah. So
100%.
they just keep galloping. They
It's a
keep
bolt.
going. They
They
keep going.
bolt
They
and
keep going.
you can't turn
Yeah.
them off.
Whereas tigers, so I think in this year, they may lean towards that kind of energy, but to remember that you do have the strength of the tiger is knowing, like waiting, lying in wait for the right time. And the Venus flytrap will really remind the tiger to kind of sit with that. But also, sometimes to know that sometimes is the time to keep running and sometimes it's not. So working with that.
Okay, rabbit. 1951, 1963, 1975, 1987, 1999, 2011, 2023. Rabbits embody yin wood, like blooming flowers. The elemental interaction. So if you have the yin wood, it can easily feed fire, but it's going to get burned up, right? Because it's yin, it's small. So stay nourished and stay balanced by using the water element. So using your intuition, your wisdom, your flow, all those watery characteristics, use those. But overall neutral for rabbits.
When I think about rabbits and horses together, like if they're in this like beautiful, vast meadow, the horses are galloping and the rabbits are like hopping around and everything is great and simpatico. But if you put the rabbit into like a horse race track, it would be just, they would freeze. So I've got desert lupin here, which is a flower that's when we freeze, like we just get frozen out of fear. And what it helps us do is like move through it. It's okay to have fear, but it's like learning how to work through it and be graceful and take action rather than getting stuck and frozen. So if rabbits have moments of feeling nervous or the kind of wild energy is making them feel uncomfortable or like they're in some kind of adverse environment, like a racetrack, the lupin flower will help them move into the heart in tough situations rather than avoid things. It'll help rabbits take charge and start a new course of action or being state. And the desert lupin is in a remedy called awaken perception.
That makes sense, right? Because Laura, you were talking about how this horse here is kind of like a thoroughbred.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fast movie. And I also think of when a horse meets a rabbit, they both freeze. Because if you're actually riding a horse, like I've experienced these things, turkeys, rabbits, you name it, deer. If you're on a horse and it's like they both like freeze. And then they're like, and then the first thing that moves, it bolts. So they're both like that. So it's interesting that you picked that because I could totally picture it in my mind. Okay, dragon.
Dragon is 1940, 1952, 1964, 1976, 1988, 2000, 2012, and 2024. Dragons embody yang earth element. So that's like the energy of super high, rocky, mountainous peaks. And so the elemental interaction with fire is that fire creates earth. So fire, again, is going to feed and nourish the elemental quality of the dragon. And the relationship between horse and dragon is pretty neutral.
Okay, flower-wise for the dragons, I have jade vine. So it's like you're out in the open and you're being social and you're being seen, but then it's like, oh God, like I'm gonna be drained or tired or, feeling a little reluctant to go out or battling with wanting to be social or be seen or not. So this flower will help you circulate and not just be out there and be seen, but really engage deeply with people and have really intimate relationships without feeling tired or drained. It'll give you extra energetic protection so that you can expand and do your work in the world and really become impervious to whatever energies that are outside of you and like sinking into your own earth. Jade vine is in luminous chi.
That's one of the blends I've been using a lot, and I'm a dragon. So I'll just keep using it. But I think that makes sense because dragons do get looked to a lot to kind of support sometimes. And again, like this energy of the horse just running, running, running without necessarily any purpose. That's a possibility, right? So having some extra protection and support and a way to tap into your own source of chi and your own luminous chi, your own energy sources. That's going to be really helpful for the dragon.
Snake. 1941, 1953, 1965, 1977, 1989, 2001, 2013. Snakes embody yin fire like glowing embers. And the elemental interaction, this is the next step from going from yin to yang. So be sure that you have enough support in terms of energetic actions, flexibility, growth, kindness, all the things that are associated with wood. Neutral, but it will be a relief for the snake after last snake year.
That's great. So for the snakes, I have buckhorn cholla. This is another desert plant. But it's a really interesting flower in that it helps us spend more time in nature and in silence. It dissolves any fear of criticism or misunderstanding. If you're going to be in the public limelight or have like much more expressed creativity or be speaking or be seen, you'll want to recharge in nature and in silence so that you can keep up this level of expression and sink into the practices that put you into alignment so you can expand your impact. This is also a flower that helps us feel protected by trees, plants, flowers, and the earth. And it lets snakes have the experience that being vulnerable doesn't have to, or change or transformation doesn't have to be a painful release. We can absorb nourishment from nature and get that interconnected feeling without words through silence and nature nurture. And that particular flower is in a blend called Awakened Understanding.
Does that make sense for you, Katie?
Yeah, I think so because we're a little slower moving and the horse is pretty galloping and running. So this feels like a way to stay on track and to recharge and make sure that things are in alignment.
Yeah, and I think also like if you think about, the wheel, like it's easy to again, this energy of the horse and yang fire can be very rapid and it can be this wheel that just keeps going without, just like the wheel of karma it just keeps going without much reason or purpose. And so this can help the snake to pull back and to find what they understand and what they can tune more into their own nature and still have some benefit from that yang energy of the horse, but without like it's easy to, I think, kind of just fall off track, right? Or just to keep going on this wheel and not know why and to get exhausted. I think that's a possibility for most everyone is the possibility to get burnt out because it is big fire and horses are fire element in a lot of in their elemental nature. Okay, so next we have horse. So horse is 1942, 1954, 1966, 1978, 1990, 2002, 2014, and 2026. So horses are yang fire. They are the sign that's connected to noon, the summer. It's like the blazing sun at high noon. So the elemental interaction, obviously it's a yang fire year, and horses are also yang fire. So it would be really helpful to bring in some water and wood to balance that yang energy of fire for the horse. And for instance, water element can invite you to reflect and to look on to the subtle, more intuitive parts of you. And then the wood element can teach you to be more sturdy and robust and use wisdom, like a strong tree that sees a lot without moving. Because horses, again, love to keep running and running and running. And then the fire is very large. Also, for the horse, since it's your year, it actually means it's a challenging year when you're in your own year. And Laura and I will talk a lot about that in the other podcasts. But most people get surprised or they forget that when it's your year, it actually means it's a really difficult year, a year of a lot of challenges. And so we invite you to use a flower ally to support you.
This one's kind of interesting. I'm really curious what you think of this, what you guys think of this one. I for horse, I have sugar bowl, which is it's a flower for transparency and learning how to be more authentic, seeing clearly, and then dissolving any tendencies around hiding. So this is like bringing everything to the surface, seeing things, seeing yourself, seeing where you tuck things away and hide things, and then being able to reveal your truest intentions to yourself first, so then that you can be more authentic and transparent in the world. What do you think that's about? How do you guys interpret that connection for horses this year?
Laura, what do you think?
Well, I think the authenticity part is probably pretty important because I think overall horses don't have trouble being out there, putting themselves out there. But I think that I'm not saying the horses are inauthentic as people, but as a group, but I think that it's not their natural tendency is probably not to be vulnerable and put their authentic self out there. I would just, if I had to say, that would be. They're a bit showy, right? They put something on that they kind of think people should be seeing.
So this
Yeah.
would allow like the real truth to come out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, and also this idea of horses just keep running and running until that's just what they're accustomed to do. So maybe what they need to see this year is not to run, to stop. And what happens when you stop? And what happens when all the fire burns everything away? And seeing what's underneath, right?
Wow.
It's easy to stay busy and superficial.
Isn't that the truth? The sugar bowl, I forgot to mention, is in divine truth for the horses.
Yeah, so there's an invitation to see what's underneath there, what is underneath the surface, and have some more transparency. And you may not have a choice because the yang fire could burn away everything, that all the superficial masks that you have or all the busyness that you create around yourself, to not look at what's happening under the surface.
Ram, 1943, 1955, 1967, 1979, 1991, 2003, and 2015. Rams embody yin earth, so like rich, nourishing soil. The elemental interaction, the fire will again, this is earth, so it's going to nourish, it's going to support it. Also, conveniently, rams are BFFs with the horse. So this is a good year for ram, sheep, same thing.
Goat.
Goat. Yeah.
Awesome. So for this animal, I have shower of orchids, which is in a blend called divine timing. And it's about getting a deeper understanding of your value in the world and unleashing the power of your gifts and what you contribute. It's like just really viscerally in your body, knowing your worth and your value, and that you have a lot to teach, a lot to offer, and that there are, vast ways that the world can learn from you.
Sounds like I could use that. I like that.
I'm imagining some goats, sheeps, and rams in a meadow with, but I know orchids are not in meadows, but like with many, many flowers. And I
Hanging
think
over
that's,
them as they eat the grass. There you go.
okay. Well, and also I think that people tend to think like, oh, especially in the West, like, oh, a sheep or a ram or a goat or like sheep are followers. And that's really kind of looked down upon in Western society because independence is so admired. So there's this invitation of looking at like even with horses, they can travel in herds in the wild, even in how do you domesticated horses? Is that how you'd say it, Laura?
Mhm.
I
Sure.
mean, they like to be in groups generally,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, they're herd animals regardless if they're wild or if they're domesticated.
They're herd animals.
Yeah.
So I think that there's also a teaching that being in a group or following a group, there is a lot that you can teach others. There's a lot of power in that because often it's a misconception that people tend to think, oh, like we have herd mentality. You can't think for yourself, or there's no uniqueness. But there is a lot of power in that, and an individual power that can come through that. And there's a invitation to explore that. And Rams have all the chi on their side to do that this year.
When you think about a goat or a sheep too, like, like a mountain goat, you could be one of those sheep that's like up in the mountains and you're
Mhm.
climbing and you're seeing something from that like higher
Mhm.
perspective. So you're looking at the community below and being able to share a higher perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So next up is monkey. 1944, 1956, 1968, 1980, 2004, and 2016. Monkeys embody yang metal element. So it's like a sharp, fierce sword, very like rough ore, so very rough metal. And the elemental interaction with the yang fire is that the yang fire will melt the yang metal. But in melting down the metal, it becomes refined and it burns away impurities. So it's a really maybe not a pleasurable experience. However, you could have some beautiful, polished metal that comes out from that and a refinement that allows you to shine. And the interaction with the horse is neutral.
Cool. So the flower I chose for monkey is Taiwanese lily, which is interesting. It's about becoming more like water. So it feels like that using the fire to melt down the metal. It will help monkeys release rigidities and just like allow more flow, easing tension and tightness. When we have that like inner bossy girl or inner military general telling us what to do, this will help monkeys not be so hard on themselves so they can move and take action with more ease and gentleness and resilience. Taiwanese lily is inside sacred body.
Rooster. Rooster's 1945, 1957, 1969, 1981, 1993, 2005, and 2017. Roosters embody yin metal like delicate, shiny jewelry. And elemental interaction is, again, the fire can melt you, but refine, burn away impurities, and reshape you. And neutral relationship with the horse this year.
For the roosters, I have bonsai plum. And this is in a remedy called Divine Within. And this is about taking bigger risks, learning how to flourish. Oftentimes, what holds us back from taking bigger risks is this wanting to be perfect. Like we don't want to release something until it's absolutely perfect. So for roosters this year, I would say just go for it. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Don't let fear of failure hold you back. And as you learn how to be more gentle and kind towards yourself, you'll see that you're taking much bigger risks.
That's a
Good.
good one for the
Yeah,
roosters.
that's
They're
good for
perfectionists.
roosters. Yeah, that's good for the rooster.
Okay, dog, 1946, 1958, 1970, 1982, 1994, 2006, and 2018. Dogs embody young earth like a strong cliff wall. The elemental interaction is earth is fed by fire. So fire creates earth. So it'll be super nourishing. And dog is also in auspicious, harmonious relationship with the horse. So it's a good year for the dog elementally as well as based on the zodiac animals.
Mm. I have society garlic for the dog, which is about activating an army of protection. It's like building the troops and the benevolent forces, learning how to become more impervious to any sort of negative forces on the outside, gaining strength, and being totally unaffected by external forces so that the dogs can be seen more as themselves. Society garlic is in awakened perception.
Does it look like garlic? Like, is it like a long with a little flower on top, or
It's
because
purple. It's
okay, but
like a ball with a shower of purple stars.
okay, very cool.
I think that'll be great for the dog because also dogs can learn a lot from the horse energy to be, like you said, more impervious because dogs can be, I think, very loyal and maybe a little bit vulnerable. So learning that strength to be like that tall horse and because dogs are like little tall horse, like little short horse, miniature horses, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. That's what they say. Yeah.
Okay, and then the
Pig
last one is pig, right?
is pig. Yeah, pig is the last. 1947, 1959, 1971, 1983, 1995, 2007, 2019. Pigs embody yin water, like misty, cool dew in the morning, elemental attraction. So yin water can't hold up to yin fire. So you're just going to have to allow for some changes, but it's pretty neutral, the relationship with the horse. And there's some relief from last year, the snake year for the pig.
So for this year, I chose Indian paintbrush for the pigs. This is in a remedy called inner knowing, and it's about learning how to intuit your way through challenging situations. Like if you're in a dark room and you don't know which way to go, rather than starting to feel like you're lost, to transform that doubt into self assuredness and really turn up the volume on your wayfinding abilities from the inside, so that you can use your inner compass as the starting point. And this is going to be a year, I believe, at helping you look within instead of asking outside.
I like
Yeah,
that. I
I think
know.
that's
That's a good
gonna be
one.
supportive, right?
Hmm.
Especially after coming out of snake year, they're probably they have to find their way out of the snake year.
Hmm.
Yeah. And we love to close with a, a flower ally or a blend for everyone, so for all the zodiac animals for the year of the fire horse.
Yes. So right now, that flower is Japanese camellia, which is interesting because this has been a flower that literally everyone all over the globe and all over the planet has been drawn to lately. And the Japanese camellia is about dissolving a sense of apathy and indifference, worrying about the future, feeling jaded, a sense of powerlessness. Maybe we're going into like worst possible outcome or disconnection. And now it'll really be amplifying the sense of connection with everyone around you, connecting with your heart, with the experience of beauty and softness, accepting what is, feeling patient, peaceful, and really listening. And I think that will help us in this new world of the horse. That's like the running, 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 but it's like giving a little bit of time to like slow down and soften and be there for ourselves.
Yeah, and the idea of connection is very important for horses, as we mentioned. They're herd animals, and they can't actually. It's very. You shouldn't have a horse on its own. Horses need to be together. It's not.
Really?
Yeah, you shouldn't. If you own a horse, you shouldn't just have one horse. It's not fair to the horse. The horse will not be happy. It's actually really mean to do that. Even get him a little donkey friend or something if you're not going to get a whole other horse. But they need that companionship. Like we actually call them companion horses. Like if you need a horse, like for show horses or whatever, you just get a horse that can be his friend. So there's that real sense they need that connection.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a big message this year because it's much different than the snake because although snakes are in groups, you could see them I could see them being totally fine on their own, and also you could have a snake. I don't know that much about snakes, but a lot of people have just one snake.
Yeah, I don't think you need to have more than one. They're not. I don't think it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely I feel that there's this focus on connection, community, running with a herd. And a lot of us do, maybe we spend a lot of time kind of circling, like biting our own tail this last year instead of, and going in circles, ruminating instead of, or maybe kind of moving in a serpentine pattern. But this year is really this invitation to go more direct. And so I love this teaching of the Japanese camellia to, instead of kind of moving without a direction, how can we change it with intention and move in a direction and move with the world and connect with others?
Good. Thank you, Katie.
So, for the listeners, you can find meditations and digital floral wallpapers and lots of printable journals, and you can learn how to purchase all these flower elixirs for your zodiac animal, or even just look at the images because some of these flowers you may not have heard of. And at the very least, you should definitely get like the wallpaper for your phone or for your computer. So we'll have a link in the show notes, but you can also visit lotusway.com, and I'm sure you'll have something available for people to click on, right? And is there anything else you want to share, Katie, for the listeners?
I don't know. I feel like there's more, but I'm not sure how to where to.
We'll have a blog post like we usually do, right? With all the visuals. And then it
Yeah, we'll
clicks
have a
through. We have
pretty
all that.
blog post with
And
all
there'll
the
be lots of
visuals.
fun things on Instagram that you guys always do such a beautiful job with your posts. So there's more to come. Keep your eyes peeled. Check out both Instagram feeds for sure.
I would just say, I guess, if there's somebody out there listening and they're an animal and it's like, oh, that doesn't really quite feel right, then don't hesitate to reach out to us because we can help connect you with another flower or maybe explain another aspect of that so that it lands more with whatever's happening in your life.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. So this is always fun to do every year. And look, I'm excited for all the visuals because there's so many beautiful flowers. And I love the idea of a flower ally that we can explore every year for our zodiac animals. So wait, Katie, yours was
Oh, it was so bang on. I'm curious about you guys. Mine was bang on. Mine was Skyrocket last year, and that one was like all about setting boundaries and saying no. And I've said no to so many things, and it just keeps amplifying. I feel like at the end of this year, it's like I'm saying no to almost everything. It's just
Mine was
it's
Bee
wild.
Orchid.
Be
Bee
okay.
Orchid and Sacred
last year.
Work. Yeah, that was mine last year.
Did you have any experiences where you felt like more open to vulnerability or connection with others?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I think so. I think I was being more honest. Yeah. And open. Yeah.
And mine was cacao flower for the dragon.
Did you nourish yourself?
Yes, definitely. That was a big focus this year. So so it worked, but we could still use, and of course, I think during this transition, still working with your flower ally for snake year, in addition to the one for the horse year. I wonder, like, we could even you could even put both flowers together. But it's interesting to kind of consider it, and I think the key is like during this quiet time to just collect your little pieces of tinder for next year and to have some quiet space right now before things kind of start to ramp up and move really fast. And you don't have to jump on the wheel. You don't have to jump on the racetrack.
That's why I think for next year, if everybody just grabs a divine within, it'll be so helpful. I just started using that one recently, and that's the one with the Japanese camellia. And then that
Hmm.
way it's like, go, okay, but take care of yourself. Let's go. Okay, but remember to take care of
Yeah.
yourself.
I
It's
think
just
that's going to be a big teaching for me because I usually just jump on the racetrack. I know the teaching for me next year is to not jump on the racetrack.
take it
Yeah.
softly.
Yeah.
No racetrack for Angie.
No, no. Laura's always like, okay, it's time to get off the racetrack, Angie. Well, thank you, Katie. And thanks to all the listeners for listening to us, and especially the ones that have been listening to us for many years. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Holistic Spaces podcast. Be sure to check the show notes and our blog post for more information about all of these flower allies and each animal. And then keep tuning in. We'll have more upcoming podcasts, more about the Lunar New Year. And you can always support us by visiting mindfuldesignschool.com. You can join our mailing list, mindfuldesignschool.com/join, and then everything will come into your inbox. So that makes it much easier. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Wait, I have a question. What are
Hmm.
the next Lunar New Year podcasts are you having?
That's a good question. So
What's coming
We're
up?
going to do the part 1 and part 2. We'll go through all of the animals.
So this is episode 361, and this is coming out right before Christmas. So if you celebrate Christmas, we say Happy Christmas to everyone. And then 362 is our Feng Shui Chi forecast for January. Then 363 is our Feng Shui color forecast for the year of the fire horse. We can tell you what that is later. And then we have 364 and 365 are going to be the forecast for all the animals, and that's in 2 parts. And then we have the 9-star key forecast for the year of the horse. And then we have a Lunar New Year for the podcast. So we have a lot coming up because it's pretty late
Wow.
this year.
Yeah, we have a
And
lot.
so when you do those 2 parts, is it like you go like deep dive into an animal sign?
Yeah, we'll go
Yes, so
more.
we do
We'll
the
go
first
more
6.
into it. Yeah, we'll do the first 6 and then the next 6, and we also split up. Like we'll talk about horse, and then the next time we'll talk about fire. So we kind of split it into 2. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully people are still listening. They can hear the behind the scenes. All right. We'll see you next week, guys.